Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And many people have been asking me, is T-Mobile the most improved network? Will they be the most improved network? Compare in comparison to their competitors. And I want to say to that, right, and hear me out. I feel, and I'll be very blunt and honest, I feel T-Mobile's network has peaked. And hear me out on this. The network will still get larger over with time, but I think their performance on a national scale, it has peaked. Will it still increase and get better by a certain percentage? Yes, but it's not going to jump and leapfrog like it did from when the merger first started to where it is today. So in that sense, it's a more mature network, and I feel they have peaked. Yes, there might be like 4 or 5 percentage points where it gets faster and better. I still think that's realistic, but I don't see them having another huge jump like they did from when the merger first started, right? When they did the network build out to where it is today. Now, where T-Mobile is the strongest is clearly in the top 100 markets with the network, and that's why I pulled up this specific slide. That's where the network is the strongest. That's where they've built the longest. That's where they've invested the most, and that's where the network is by far the most mature. They've built the right amount of density needed. They got a good amount of Sprint keep sites done. They have more to go, but they got a good amount done inside the top 100 markets. And what has that gotten T-Mobile? In 40% of markets, of the top 100 markets, T-Mobile is the number one share and growing. In 30% of the top 100 markets, T-Mobile is number two and growing. And in 30% of the top 100 markets, T-Mobile is number three and growing. So the theme across the board, they're growing, and the network where it is today is allowing them to continue to grow. That's the main theme across the board. Now, as we get outside of the top 100 markets, that's where T-Mobile still faces that perception gap and the issue, right? I still see people talk about it in the comments. Hey, you know what? T-Mobile just doesn't cut it right now. They need more sites. And T-Mobile clearly understands that today. They know what they lack on the perception, right? It's not in the top 100 markets. You can clearly see them growing. But even though they have a smaller network, if you go to the small market and rural areas where T-Mobile is just now getting started, even there they have outsized growth. They grow their win share is in some cases twice their market share. So they're growing there too, with arguably still a smaller network. So I say this to say this, they're they're winning no matter how you look at it. They have a smaller network and they're winning. So as each year goes by, they continue to grow, even with, by perception, a smaller network. They continue to grow. You can see it here on this chart, the top 100 markets in each of the segments, they continue to grow. Where they're number one, they continue to grow. That's one segment. Where they're number two, that's even up more upside where they're number two. And where they're number three, that's even more upside for them to continue to grow. And then anything else outside of the top 100 markets, small market rural areas, T priority, government, enterprise, anything outside of that, they're under penetrated anyway. They start with a very, very small percentage, so they have nothing but upside anywhere outside of the top 100 markets. So the network, it has upside, but that's the scale and the network getting larger. I feel everything else besides that has peaked. They have opportunity to create more capacity. I will acknowledge that, but I don't think it's going to be a huge leapfrog like when the merger first started and they started building out the network. For one, they're growing too fast, right? They call it outsized growth. They're growing FWA too quickly. They're going from 7 to 8 million to 12 million, right? Currently they're sitting, I think, at about 5.6, closer to 6 million now. So they're doubling that. And they're still using the fallow capacity model. Going from 6 million but by the end of the guidance to 12 million, they're still using the fallow capacity model. So they're not building any new sites specifically for FWA. They're not using any extra capital for FWA. They're just using the existing assets that they own. Still, they were going to get to 7 to 8 million with that model. And I thought, and I even said that in videos, to go beyond 7 to 8, they would need some type of capital investment to further grow that FWA business. And they simply said, no, we don't need to. They studied it apparently for the last 2 years. They studied the model, and they comfortably feel they can get to 12 million total FWA customers, not homes passed, actual 12 million actual customers using the product by 2028. Using that same fallow capacity model. So either the capacity is just that high that even as these mobile apps, the 5G killer apps create and data usage increases, that the even with the current spectrum position, right, not thinking about any other future spectrum auctions today, is so much capacity that they can really fill that. And I tested it. I checked on it myself. My home site. And I'll close out the video with this. My home site, my sector, it's a fourth sector. They increased the backhaul on it. So now during the day, even the speeds are much higher than they previously were. I used to max out like 350, 400. Now I'm doing 6, 7, 800, 900 megabits, depending on the part of the day, but it's double the speed. So I checked addresses next to me, and like I just went like 5 or 6 houses down, and they all now qualify for FWA. So they immediately, instantly act. Like as soon as they do a backhaul increase, they sell FWA. And, they say that, hey, we're not using any capital or whatever, but increasing backhaul, that hits OpEx. But yet, which is fine, because with that extra backhaul, now you're paying more for backhaul. Your mobile users have a better performing network. And now it allows you, that same backhaul increase allows you to sell more FWA, which is going to make you more money, right? It leads to revenue. Now you have the opportunity to sell wireless and wireline. You can, I don't know, maybe sell a Verizon customer 2 doors down T-Mobile FWA. If it works well, they might consider you on wireless. So now you have opportunity. But the whole question that I've been getting asked, and what I started the video off with, is T-Mobile the most improved network? Maybe 2021, 2022, that was the case, like most improved. But now they've kind of like flatlined and peaked, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. They're peaking, right? The network is still getting larger. We see that. They're still building new sites. They're getting ready to get US Cellular. That's 2,100 new sites. And like I said, 80% of those 2,100 sites are 150 footers. So they're going to gain some additional coverage. But other than that, I don't see that network getting that much drastically more improved. Yes, we will see 5G advanced. We will see L4S. We will see all those other features, right? Availability will get better. I will give them that. Reliability will get better. And that will result in better calling, et cetera, et cetera. So from that perspective, for T-Mobile themselves, right, the network will be the best network that they've ever built, right? They call it second to none. That's T-Mobile. But it's not going to leapfrog like it did at the very beginning. They had 2019, before the merger closed, I was on Verizon. I'll be very honest with you guys and genuine. I was primarily on Verizon. The network prior to the Sprint asset and the spectrum, it was just too much. It was just too loaded. They weren't investing enough. So calling was horrid. I've mentioned this in several other videos. Calling would drop. You couldn't load stuff very quickly. You had buffering during some video content. Music streaming apps were buffering at some times for T-Mobile. Not all the time, but certain sectors were affected more than others. And now that's just not the case anymore. They made a hefty investment getting the spectrum on sites. They haven't densified much further than what they were previously here, at least my market. But they added like 3 or 4 Sprint keeps. I mean, it was probably closer to 10 if you include the military base. And then they built like maybe like 2 or 3 sites, like native, like their own sites that they built that weren't Sprint keeps. And they've been maturing and growing the company with what they've deployed, right? They spent $40 billion in the first 3 years. That's what I keep telling people. The first 3 years, T-Mobile spent more. They spent 12, 13, $14 billion annually for the first 3 years, and everything was built fairly quickly. And now they're enjoying the fruits of their labor. And they're gonna, in my opinion, on just the business aspect, they're gonna kill it, man. They're gonna continue to grow the company. They're gonna continue to get the outsized growth, and they're gonna continue to get that profitable growth. That's where you see the free cash flow. And that money, that flexibility will allow them to invest into fiber, more sites where needed, using the AI to really determine where the capital should be spent. And other than that, it's really just, T-Mobile doing what they need to do to grow the business. So you have the slide on screen here. You guys can see 40%, 30%, 30% out of the top 100 markets. And everything outside of that, they have so much upside. And you can see even in the top 100 markets, they are number 2 and number 3 in some markets. And they have continued upside to grow. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you think T-Mobile's the most improved network. Let us know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.